Oh my god, hello! Hello everyone. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a really late July wrap-up. I debated on whether to film this video because I know it's like literally in the middle of August. I should be getting ready to film my August wrap-up, but I literally cannot get books out of my head until I film a wrap-up. Like, I can't stop thinking about them and like adding things to the list of like things I want to say in this video. I kind of like need to exercise what I read using these wrap-up videos. So I'm still going to talk about them, and I hope you still want to hear what I read in July. As you can see, I'm in a new setting. I just moved. So at the end of July and the beginning of August, it was kind of a hectic beginning of the month because I knew I was going to be moving from place to place, so I wouldn't have time anyway to film a wrap-up video, but I am in my new place and I will be talking a lot about that in a future vlog to come. And if you want to keep more updated with my life and just what I'm doing, definitely follow me on Instagram, also for some artsy book photos. But without further ado, you're here to hear what I read in July. So let's get started. Okay, so the first book that I read in July is the best book I have read so far this year, and I cannot stop talking about this. It is Gearbreakers by Zoe Hana. This is a sapphic sci-fi cyberpunk story, yeah, kind of like dystopian a little bit, but that's all I'm really gonna say. I'm not gonna really describe the synopsis, first of all, because it's hard to, but also I think you should go into this book just knowing that, because that's kind of what compelled me to read it. And I don't read a lot of sci-fi, so going into this I was pretty hesitant because sci-fi and technology just seems to like go over my head a lot of times. I'll never really fully understand the concepts in a sci-fi book, and I'll probably need someone else to tell me, but this one was literally perfect for my knowledge of sci-fi. I thought it was really great because the author grounded the technology and the world building in the romance, in these two characters' romance. It is a female-female romance, which I honestly love to read in like sci-fi or fantasy books because I think they add an element of not only queerness, but awesomeness. So I'm just looking at my notes here. But yeah, the author did such an amazing job of grounding the world and all these abstract concepts of technology and in this romance between the two characters, because the two characters are on opposite sides, opposite factions of this war. So I think grounding it in the romance made it so much easier to understand, and it also made it quite entertaining because it was kind of like a hate to love romance or enemies to lovers. If you enjoy that, you will definitely love this romance. And even if you're not into sci-fi, I definitely think you'll enjoy this book. It's not that sci-fi heavy or technology heavy, and I think it focuses more on like the idea of humanity and what you'll live for and what you'll die for, and of course the sapphic romance. So I am impatiently waiting the sequel, and I just want to get everyone to read this book because I feel like it's so underhyped for the awesomeness that it is. So definitely check it out. Okay, so for these next few books, I participated in Sunshine Readathon in mid-July, or I think it was the end of July, but I was hosting reading sprints, and this is the first time I did a readathon in almost a year, so it was really refreshing to read 3 books a week, like how much I read when I was in high school. Not so much anymore, but it was just really refreshing to read that much and to have a lot to talk about with people. And I'm still getting used to reading books that fast because usually I don't take enough time to process those books, but I will do that now with you. Okay, so the first book that I read for that readathon is Sunny by Reynolds. At the time that I read this, I didn't know that this was book 3 of his middle grade track series, which to my detriment, I do not read middle grade, nor do I read books about sports, and also I failed to read the first 2 books, so I did enjoy it, although I thought it was a very fast read. I just don't think I was the demographic, and I didn't love it because of that. But I would definitely recommend this book if you are interested in middle grade and also are interested in sports with very ambitious like main characters. I really like the main character in this book. I think he was very ambitious and had so many ideas, kind of like unapologetically ambitious, which I kind of want to be. He's like my role model now. But yeah, I would recommend this book if you're looking for that. Okay, so the next book that I read is Rise to the Sun by Leah Johnson. This one, unfortunately, I didn't enjoy as much as I thought I would. I still think it's a pretty solid YA that you should read, if maybe not for the story, then for the really important and nuanced topics that are talked about in this book. And there are a lot of hot takes that I love how the author kind of like unapologetically put in there, and talked about like a lot with racism. So essentially this book, the synopsis is there are these two girls that meet at this music festival called Farmland, and they kind of go through this entire journey together. They start a little romance, run into a little run into some issues, some struggles. But overall, that premise really intrigued me because since the pandemic, I've been really looking for books that foster community or have this community aspect, mostly with like found family or just like through music festivals or book clubs or whatever. But I really loved this book for that aspect. There are many reasons why I liked some parts of this book. I really liked there was like this scavenger hunt thing. I liked that part of the story. I did really enjoy the topics and the conversations that this book held. I think the author did such a great job of weaving in these important topics like mental health, racism. There's so many more, but I'm like forgetting. But I'll put like content warnings on the screen for you to see like what's in this book. The book also on the first page had content warnings, which I really appreciated. But this book is super loaded, really heavy topics, but the author did such a natural way of storytelling, if that makes any sense. And I really loved this book's attention to like mental health and anxiety. Like it was anxiety on the page, which I really love because a lot of times it's implied, but I love how this book, we really like felt that through the main character's experiences. But on the other hand, there were some reasons why I didn't really enjoy this book. I think one is because I think the characters are meant to be unlikable, but in the amount of time that this book took place in, it took place over like 2 to 3 days, I just felt like I couldn't be attached or invested into the characters. Not necessarily saying that I had to like them, but I had to be invested in their lives and their story enough to keep me going because the book is so short, the story is so short, and also this book I believe is very character driven, at least that's what it felt like to me. So it's hard when a book is character driven and you don't feel anything for the characters because you kind of just want to like stop reading. But overall, it was a really great, solid read that I think is super important. I do really want to check out You Should See Me in a Crown. So let me know down below if you enjoyed that and if I should read that. Okay, so the next book that I read in the Sunshine Readathon is the last book, and I actually read this for a challenge of predicting a 5-star read, and I predicted this would be 5 stars, and it absolutely was. The next book is Who is Ismondixon by Alexandra Andrews. If I had to describe this book in one word, it would be whirlwind. Like metaphorically and like literally, like whirlwind. Like this book, whew. I felt nervous while reading this book because I got like secondhand anxiety for the main character in our book. This book essentially follows our main character named Florence, who has these like big dreams for herself, as we all do, but she's very cynical and pessimistic, and she's not very happy for other people when they are successful because she wants to be in that position. She's kind of envious. I think a lot of realistic character traits of a middle-aged woman. And I don't know, I feel like I really like the way this book portrayed success and what success means and how it is perceived, especially from someone who wants to be successful, but also how this kind of person, this kind of character perceives other people's success. So overall, I really love that. I think that was also like kind of a theme going around in this book of success, which was really great because this was a psychological thriller. So I think it was just a very interesting story. That's all I gotta say. I think it was a very smart premise, and I honestly think it was executed pretty well. I'm not like a pro on psychological thrillers. I don't know what makes a good psychological thriller, but all I know All I know was that it was entertaining, it kept me on the edge of my seat, there were so many twists and turns, and at the end of the day, I left the book feeling really elated and really satisfied. So that's all that matters to me when I read a book. It was really short too, and I finished it so fast. But yeah, let me know if you read this book and how you would compare it to other psychological thrillers, I guess, because I feel like this one was definitely banking on more like of these out of the box, over the top, dramatic scenes, whereas a lot of other psychological thrillers I think have been more tame than this one, to be honest, and have not made me that nervous. And the final book that I read in July, which took me about 2 weeks to read, is Detransition Baby by Tori Peters. This book is a really heavy book. I don't really remember off the top of my head a synopsis for this book, but it essentially follows 3 women, transgender and cisgender, and it just follows their story. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, there's not really any plot. It just follows their lives as they are kind of entangled in each other's lives. And it talks about like how they meet, and it goes in between present and past, and I really like the time jumps. I am someone who loves reading literary fiction with flashbacks. I love flashbacks. If they're done well, of course. Sometimes they can be kind of confusing, but I really love this one. I thought I kind of like the slow engagement of reading this book. Like I said, this book took me 2 weeks, and I had to go back and forth between stopping and reading again because there were a lot of heavy scenes in this book. I'll put, again, content warnings on the screen, but I had to stop reading this book at times and then go back to it to finish it and keep moving through the story, and it kind of just felt like I was living their lifetime with them. I will say though, one thing about this book that was kind of a little difficult for me was the writing style. At times I felt it was very clunky and very sophisticated, and when I say sophisticated, I just basically mean like vocabulary words that were like really advanced, and the way sentences were written that made it hard to read. Like, I would read a paragraph and I really wouldn't understand what I had just read, so I would have to reread it and kind of like write summaries for each paragraph, kind of like I was like writing in the margins and like of main ideas, just because like for me it was hard to read. Like, I'm not used to reading that kind of writing style, but overall the conversations in this book were great. I think I definitely learned more about trans and non-binary communities through reading this book. The author is a trans woman, and I just love this book. I would recommend it to everyone. I have recommended it to everyone already, and I'm so sad that I didn't bring my copy with me to school because it's definitely a book that I would love to share with my friends. So yeah, definitely check it out if it sounds good to you. But overall, this was a solid read of the month. So that was it for my July wrap up. Let me know in the comments down below what you read in July, and if you read any of the same books. I will definitely be filming a lot more content in these few weeks just because before school starts I want to have a lot of uploaded content, and look out for some vlogs featuring my new place. That's where I'm going to put them. Like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and I will see you on my next video. Bye.